It's been said that faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Dr. Martin Luther King. I recall a time in my life where I had to take a first step of faith. A friend of mine invited me to a 2-day seminar with Tony Robbins, and he does what's called a firewalk experience. I was there to support my friend, and during the end of the second day, we all were instructed to go out where they were going to actually do this feat of walking over fire. Now, I've always been told that if you played with fire, well, you're bound to get burned. And to be quite honest, I always wondered what would possess someone to even want to walk over fire, but I had to see it for myself. So the instructor instructed us to take off our shoes, and now we had to begin the walk towards where the actual event was taking place. And as we started to walk, we had to go through the street. Now, I've got some sensitive feet. Let me tell you, my feet are extremely sensitive. And every time I walked on a rock, I felt it and it hurt. And I told my friend, man, if fire felt anything like these rocks, you best believe I won't be walking over it, and I feel sorry for you. And as we got closer, I noticed that the crowd began to grow. And it seemed as if there was thousands of people surrounding me, yelling and screaming, and I couldn't see in front of me, behind me, or on the side. And to be honest, I was looking for a way of escape, because at this point, only thing I could think of, if there was going to be a riot or if something was to happen, I would literally get stumped to death, because I could not get out of this crowd, and I was scared. So as the crowd began to move forward, I noticed in the distance that things began to open up, and I found myself in line getting ready to actually do the fire walk. Now, I said to myself, how did I get here? I didn't ask for this. How did I get in line, and why is it my turn? I looked to the left of me and to the right. I saw people walking over the fiery coal and getting to the end and celebrating, and everybody was jumping and screaming. And then I looked down, and when I looked down, it looked as if the people who had crossed the path before me had stumped out almost all of the embers, and it looked as if the fire was gone. And I said to myself, well, hey, if there was any day to walk over fire, this might just be the day to do it. But before I could actually take a step out, the guy that was orchestrating the event stood about 6'9", big body frame. He had a shovel in his hand, and on the ground was a wheelbarrow. And in the wheelbarrow, ladies and gentlemen, it was full of hot, fiery coal. And I could smell the coal, and I could see the fire. He then began to place his shovel into the barrel and pull out hot coal, and then lay that directly in front of my path. Now, I seen it all. At that point, all I could envision of myself is the defeat. The feet getting burned up. And I decided at that moment to get out of line. And when I got out of line, ladies and gentlemen, I stood there for a minute, because it hadn't been the first time that I got out of line. You know, I got out of line on a lot of my responsibilities in the past. I've gotten out of line on businesses that I've started and quit. I got out of line on education as far as school and didn't complete certain projects. I found myself getting out of line a lot in life. And at this point, I had gotten out of line. Once again, I decided that I was going to sit on the sideline while everyone else were celebrating. Have you been sitting on the sideline while others have been celebrating? And have you gotten out of line? Well, you see, ladies and gentlemen, as I stood there thinking about all the times I got out of line, in the distance, I heard a tiny voice telling me, you can do it, don't quit. You can do it, don't quit. You can do it. And then I looked back and I felt something on my shoulder and someone tapping me, and I looked back and it was a young lady telling me, I can do it, don't quit. And then she gradually nudged me back in line. And as I stood there, I started thinking about all of those times I have failed to complete what I started. And ladies and gentlemen, she nudged me back in line. And a lot of times, you see, we need those people in our life to nudge us back in line. Those voices of hope, those voices of encouragement. We need sometimes the belief that others have in us. We need to hold on to that belief until we get enough courage to believe it ourselves. So as I stood there thinking about my past failures, I made a decision right then and there that I was tired of losing. I was tired of sitting on the sideline while others was winning. I was tired of not keeping my word. I was tired of not completing projects when I said I was. I was tired of being tired. Have you ever felt tired of being tired? Where you've given so much to your marriage, you've prayed so much, you've been put so much into a job that doesn't appreciate you. You've put so much into your children, and then they still grow up and go the wrong way, and you're just tired. And you want to quit. But yet you decide to stand and stay there and stand in line and keep going. And that's what I did. I was standing there, and as I started to move forward, I looked down, and it was my turn again. And this time I could see the hot fire in front of me, and I could smell the coals, and then I lifted up my foot. And I placed my foot on the coal and took my first step. And not only did I take my first step, ladies and gentlemen, because the first step is never enough. It's only the beginning. You see, the first step is the decision to take action, the defining moment in your life, the defining moment where something changes. And I took that first step, but then I committed to take that second step, because it's not only the first step that starts you on the path, you have to take a second step to stay on that path. And many of you right now have taken the first step, and you may have even taken the second step. But as I continue to go forward and take the third and the fourth, I found myself in the middle of this hot, fiery coal. The heat was still there, the pressure, the pain, and all of the things were still there. Nothing had changed, but only now I was finding myself in the middle of this area, and I had gone too far to go back, and I had to move forward. You see, have you gone too far? Have you prayed so much? Have you invested so much time? Have you put so much money into certain things that you cannot go back? You have went too far to turn around. You know, in business, it's called a tipping point, where you've put too much money, too much resources, too much effort, where you have to complete the project and get the results, or else everything stops. You see, I couldn't stay where I was at, though. Although I was at this halfway point, I had to do one of the most critical things in order to get to the finish line. And I'm telling you, that is to hold on to the vision. So that's what I chose to do. I held on to the vision of the other people who had went before me and celebrated the victories. And I could see myself now getting that much closer to my goal. You see, when you're at a halfway point, you have to keep walking. You have to hold on to the vision. And that's what I did. And as I continued to walk through, although everything was still the same, I could still smell the coal. The heat was still up under my feet, but I did not quit. And then I leaned in and crossed the finish line. And then I celebrated and said, yes, it's done. I did it. I did it. And then I looked down at my feet, because I wanted to make sure that they were still there. And they were. And I looked in back of me, and I seen the hot, fiery coal behind me. And I had walked through that whole entire path. I wasn't damaged. But I had a little bit more courage, because I accomplished something that many people only talk about. But it would have never happened until I made a decision to first get back in line, and then second, take that first step.